cabin.
Hey friends, how's it going? Well, welcome back. It's Thursday. I got a little early morning pipe in my Dunhill. Yeah, it's very nice. It's a nice morning. Beautiful, crisp December day here in the Gem City. That's right. Monrovia is the gem of the foothills. And a lot of people just call it the Gem City. Technically, that would be Glendora. They call themselves the Gem City. Yes. But anyways, Gem City is a nickname we've given ourselves as well. It's interesting, a lot of the foothill communities have kind of touted that they were the special spot in Los Angeles County. And they're not wrong. I mean, back in those days, it was rural, very rural. And, this was kind of farmland and a lot of agriculture, citrus trade, and all sorts of different, produce was produced up in these areas. And that's why a lot of homes here have fruit trees. Some of them were spared and they were left in yards when they were building homes and whatnot through the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And let me tell you, they're phenomenal. The best avocados are not at the store. Oh gosh, no. No, if you like avocados and you come to SoCal and Los Angeles County and you happen to get one from someone's tree in their backyard, guaranteed it's a life-changing experience. It really is. I think a lot of people that don't like produce or vegetables or fruits for that matter haven't had good ones. And thankfully, some of the best oranges I've ever had are from here. Yeah. Now, there's always a debate who has the best citrus. Was it Florida or California? That'll be an argument we'll have another day. Seeing as I've never been to Florida, I've never picked an orange off of a tree in Florida, I can't say I have honestly had a genuine Floridian orange. So until that happens, then I have no formal opinion, but I have had oranges from there that were imported, and they were fine. But anything overproduced is going to be less than ideal. The oranges I've had that came from heritage trees, or heirloom trees, as you want to call them, I guess, from Redlands, euphoric, beautiful, sweet, juicy, ideal flavor, just incredible, great juicing oranges. The Valencias are just incredible. But anyways, like I said, another discussion for another day. We're here for lanterns, and we have the completed, scrubbed, 1869 patented R.E. Dietz. That's right. Now, there was a lot of debate. I did a lot of deliberation about removing the paint on this thing. And a lot of people were, a few people, not a lot, but were saying, maybe you should just leave the old red paint. It does look cool. I was like, well, yeah, I do like old red paint. I do. I enjoy it on most lanterns. But I am glad that I removed it. And I'll tell you why. Because I did a little test. I tested removing the paint on a section of the skirt to see how easy it would come off. Now, red paint, as well as silver or gold, can be very difficult to remove. But I took a rag and put some oven cleaner on it and started rubbing on one spot. That red paint was coming off extremely easy. Extremely easy. So as the more I looked at it, the more I realized it was kind of an older rattle can job. It was a decent rattle can job, but still a rattle can job. So it was, probably from the 60s or 70s. And they had painted a rusty lantern. And that's why the age on the paint kind of did what it did. Some of the thin spots, there was spots that were heavier applied and some thin spots. And the thin spots got that scaling, right? And then it started to wear off, but there were some heavier spots where the paint kind of ran from overspraying, and it was still glossy red. So I looked at it all, and it wasn't as old as maybe I had thought or maybe we anticipated. But then I noticed that when I was taking it off, there was rust underneath the paint. Well, the paint protected it from rusting further, which was great. But I don't want to leave the rust on there. Period. I want to remove the paint and take the rust as much as the rust off. Now, as you can see, it does have a dark brown finish or patina. There's no surviving tin at all. You know, check out the patent dates. You can see them now up on the draft tube. Is that cool? Ooh, get back in focus. There you go. Come on. Don't focus on my face. Focus on the lantern. There we go. There you go. So, last patent would be May 4, 69. And this thing is, you know, it's pretty cool with no spout. It's a spoutless tubular lantern. So R.E. Dietz, when they patented this design, this was their first technical lantern of R.E. Dietz. Prior it was Dietz and Smith. Has an Irwin burner, which is proper, is correct for this lantern, and it's a smaller wick. It's a 3/8 wick. So people are like, "Oh, why are you burning that globe? That's a really early, rare globe. It's original to the lantern. It's a great combination. It's a very complete piece." That's crazy to think of what I could actually sell this for if I chose to, but I'm not. I'm keeping it. It's the earliest lantern in my collection. And I like the way it came out. I think it came out great. So I stripped it. Well, but the globe, though. It's got some cancer on it on one side, and it's dirty. And, I mean, there's no cracks or chips or anything. It's actually in really remarkable shape. But since it's a smaller burner, not burner, but smaller wick, it's actually not generating as much heat as like a 5/8 wick or a number 2 burner or whatever. So it's pretty low risk of anything happening to it. So with that being said, I do burn it, but low, and it's been burning very well. So we'll light it here, and we will enjoy that together. So let's do this for the folks at home and our viewing audience. All right, gotta get it just high enough. There it is. Okay, there we go. So. Pitch a little bit of the ash in this thing. All right, here we go. We're going to do it. Yeah. And we're going to stick this up here in the little hole. Oh, okay. There we go. There we go. Nice. The debris off of there. So as it warms up, it will start to readjust and even out. But it's a beautiful flame on this. I'm going to relight here. Give me a second here. There. There we go. You're looking at a flame that's over 150 years old. It's doing exactly what it did 4 or 5 years after Lincoln was assassinated. This lantern predates the founding of Monrovia. That's right. It does. And it's really kind of crazy to think what life was like here in the gem of the foothills when that lantern was made in New York. Anyways, as it warms up, the flame will increase, and it'll be good. But you're probably curious, maybe, how I did this job. Well, you've seen my videos about stripping. I did the same thing. Yeah. So what I did, I when I decided to go full strip on this, I covered it in the yellow cap Easy Off oven cleaner, right? And let it sit for about 5-6 minutes. Let it kind of really get in there and start breaking things up. And then I took it to the backyard and sprayed it off with the power hose. And about 95% of the paint all came off. And then I hosed it all out and got it all cleaned up and blew water through the tubes and cleared out anything that could have been in there. I mean, the lantern was functioning when I first received it. And it burned very well. It just did leak. So last week I sealed the fount on Saturday. I cleaned it out and I sealed it before I took the paint off. So the paint was keeping the acetone, or it kept the acetone in, because that's what I did. I cleaned out the fount first, and then I poured in the seal all and rolled it around, did the whole thing, sealed it up very nice. So yeah, it's working properly now, and it's not leaking, which is great. But stripped the paint off, and then I did another application of the Easy Off to get some of the remnants in the corners of the paint, and it all started coming off. And I realized when I was rinsing it off of the oven cleaner after using the hose, I wanted to get all of it off. I wanted to make sure everything was perfectly clean. So I took some acetone and I just kind of drizzled it all over, and it was dripping into my oil pan down there, and it was coming off. The paint was just like the acetone was turning red, because it was, it was coming off pretty good. So I got a lot of it. There's still a few little remnants in some corners, so you still see some traces of the old red paint, which is fine. It's kind of part of its history still, so that's cool. But when I took it all off, I saw how rusty it was. And stay tuned, I have photos of the process of stripping it, so you will see exactly how it looked underneath the paint. And I was kind of shocked, and I decided right there when I started taking the paint off that I was doing the right thing, because the paint was applied most likely in the 70s or maybe late 60s, somewhere around there, and they had painted it over rust. They didn't prep it. They didn't do anything about preserving the lantern. They just thought, I'll paint it and that will keep it from rusting further, which it cut off the oxygen, and it did stop it from progressing. But I wonder if it would have been better had they taken some precaution and cleaned it up a little bit before painting it. But anyways, we can't undo the damage that was done. But I hosed it off, got it all cleaned up, and then I used, of course, WD-40 and my green Scotch pad, as I have always done. And I've used a wire brush in some areas that were a little rougher, and I got this thing kind of where I wanted it to be. And I was very mindful not to go over the solder with anything abrasive, because I wanted the solder to remain on the dark side. There's still little glints. I did clean it a little bit, but the solder is still mostly dark, and I like it because it looks antique. It looks as if it was found in a kind of an ideal situation where it's just gracefully aged. But yeah, I don't like seeing wire brush marks on my solder or on the metal, and I wanted to be very careful about the patents, because they are arched, and that's a very interesting way that they put the patents on these draft tubes at that time. And I just wanted it to look honest, and so I think it came out great. I really do. And this thing is just a joy. It burns so nice. It really does. And, people are saying, well, how do you know it's Dietz? It's not marked anywhere. It's not marked on the globe. It's not marked anywhere. How do you know it's R.E. Dietz? Well, that's what I was told by some of the experts. And this is definitely right around. There's some details that will tell you that it's Dietz and not like Denison Wheeler or whatever. But it's first generation Dietz. Prior to R.E. Dietz, it was Dietz and Smith. Now, this is first generation R.E. Dietz. So, what do we got Dietz up here? Where's my Dietz stuff? Oh, right. I'll just grab this one down. So, this side lift, I know I bring this one, it's easy to reach, but this side lift is R.E. Dietz. And R.E. Dietz started here. And then they ended up here through the 90s, and of course, the streamlined lanterns, the high-lows, and the monarchs, and all that stuff. Through the turn of the century, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and all that stuff. And they stopped calling themselves R.E. Dietz, I think, by the 40s. I think it was just Dietz. After the anniversary in 1940, I think they just went by Dietz. But yeah, prior to that, it was R.E. Dietz. And I think that's like even on my crate. I have a wizard crate from the teens. It might not say R.E. Dietz. I have to take a look, but I think it just says Dietz. But whatever the case is, this was first generation R.E. Dietz. So this is pretty cool. This is ground floor. Now, of course, Dietz has been around since 1840. And people are like, well, what are they making in 1840 if tubular lanterns came around in the 1860s? It was late 60s, like post-Civil War, or like late 60s, like 67 to 8, right around there. They started experimenting with the tubular design. Well, Dietz was making oil lamps, fancy oil lamps, nice oil lamps, in 1840. And they were whale oil lamps, that's what they were using in the 40s. And so there's some people that have some early Dietz oil lamps from 1840, or in that general decade. But anyways, it's interesting, but the tubular lanterns did come later on, So let's see, 20 years later or so, after being founded in 1840. So, but they became known for their lanterns, and by the time the 1930s, 40s, 50s, they weren't making table lamps anymore. Now it's funny because they did some interesting things. There's hand lamps, and they're made of tin. They have an air tube that's also doubles as a handle, and it has kind of a fount that has a oil lamp type of base and has an air tube, and it also doubles as a handle and has a regular chimney on it, and you can carry it around your house like that. Instead of using a tubular lantern like this, you can use it as a regular house lamp, but it's tin, and those are quite collectible. There's variations of those. There's also they made a Dietz Junior that has a lamp base on it, on the fount. So it has its regular fount, but then it curves down into a stand like on an oil lamp. And those are very rare. They're very collectible. They're rather sought after, and they made them in brass. I don't know if they made them in anything else. Sorry, my neighbor's kids are around here. So anyways, I'm not sure if they made them in any other material besides brass. I don't know. They might have made one in nickel-plated brass, or I don't know if they made one in tin. But anyways, those are out there. They surface very seldomly, mainly when a collector decides they don't want it anymore. Then one is available. But they made some interesting things. So if you Google Dietz lanterns, sometimes you'll find some old catalog pages from the 90s through the early 1900s, and you'll see the different variations of lamps and lanterns that they offered. But yeah, by the 1920s and 30s, they really stopped offering any type of real oil lamp, I guess, and it was mainly just tin lanterns from there on out. And then by the 40s, they really kind of reduced the number of lanterns that they were making or offered through their catalog. So they had their standards. They had your Blizzard, your D-Light, your Little Wizard, your Little Giant, your Hilo, and your Monarch, your Mill Lantern, and I think a few other. The Acme Inspector and the Buckeye Dash. They still made some of the earlier models, but not as much. And the Buckeye Dash lamp and the Beacon Dash lamp and those types of things were definitely used by the Amish community in rural areas that didn't have, or if they were using wagons, if they didn't have an automobile by that point. But anyhow, definitely the Amish community. So, with that being said, it's interesting, by the 1940s and 50s, they really just dropped a lot of things. I mean, the Hilo was dropped in 47, but, they hung on. They hung on for a good long time, and then, they moved to China in the mid-50s, late 50s, and the Hong Kong, and that's the history of it. But R.E. Dietz definitely got its foothold in the tubular world early on, and all the patents and everything that they applied for to get the tubular style. There's a 0.0 size tubular that's really hard to find, and they can go for a lot of money, kind of crazy money. But I'll have to find a picture of one and share it next video. But it's kind of a small little rectangular base, and has these two air tubes that come up and cross, and they're soldered in the corners, and there's a spring top. Okay, and it's a 0.0 style, and I think that came out in the very late 60s, so like 67 or 8, right around there. And that would probably technically be one of the first tubulars that Dietz offered when it was Dietz and Smith, I believe. I could be wrong, but I will have to to look in that before I commit to that. But it's kind of crazy. It really is to see the evolution of these things, you know. But it's fun. It's fun stuff. And here we have the earliest one now in my collection, patented May 4, 1869. Definitely made just after 1870. So it's good. That's good stuff. Excuse me. Well, I'm going to get back to my morning out here, enjoying the crisp, fresh air this December, and I'm going to, you know, have the rest of my Dunhill, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.